All right, everybody. As you guys know, we've been talking a lot lately about how the current grift for right-wing sort of hate mongers that call everything woke and try to monetize off of it as much as possible is the sinking ship strategy, as I've called it, as I've dubbed it. I think I've literally invented this, by the way, like this term, this name for what they do. And if it catches on, then I'll be happy to have my like sort of mark on the internet made, if for lack of a better term. But the sinking ship strategy is essentially when conservatives and grifter chuds look for a popular piece of media with a fan base that's currently upset with said piece of media and the source of that media. A good example would be Star Wars. There are a lot of genuine Star Wars fans out there that have a problem with the direction the series has gone in. And because of that, there's a lot of animosity there, because a lot of people hold these franchises very close to their heart. And so even a slight problem with that thing will lead them to searching for the validation of a YouTuber who also is mad about that thing. And as you know, the loudest, angriest thumbnails and titles are the ones that do the best in the YouTube algorithm when you're trying to appeal to a hate mob for a thing, right? And what they do is they look for that discontent and they monetize it. They make angry videos criticizing, say, Disney for what they've done to Star Wars, but it's not just them saying the new Star Wars is bad for whatever list of reasons the average audience member might have a problem with it for. They instead attack it for being woke, and they make the case that all these problems you might have with it on a more about as objective as you can get in an evaluation of a piece of media level, that they're related to wokeness, to an agenda that has invaded your favorite media and is trying to ruin it, right? And it's called the sinking ship strategy. They look for a sinking ship, and they claim the ship is sinking because of wokeness, not the iceberg it hit. And a good example of a newer channel in that realm that's been doing this is one that's been recommended to me to cover a lot, and I've only covered once before, and that was months ago. Synthetic Man. This guy is really up and coming, you know. He's only got 135,000 subs, but I can see him being at 1 million this time next year for sure. And his content really is some of the most cringe out there. We covered this video, the Fallout is Dead video. I don't think he realized that the show was going to pop off so hard, and then he made a Cope video that didn't do anywhere near as well. You can see, like, this guy relies heavily on, like, a thing being popular and striking while the iron is hot, but everything else is a flash in the pan, right? Like, he can't really maintain any relevance. So some of his content is just really embarrassing. Straight men stay winning. Stellar Blade is actually pretty good. Assassin's Creed is dead. For the third time, at least. Assassin's Creed Shadows is a joke. And I guess he features It's a Gundam in there for some reason, who's another one of these YouTubers. Sincerity is dead? Really? Chuds are going to try to argue that sincerity is dead? Okay. The future of gaming is bleak. Average woman in 2024. Or in gaming in 2024, and it's like the trans flag for woman. Shadow of the Erdtree is overrated. Buck Broken Radon, that femboy bussy hits different for real, for real. I'm not really an Elden Ring guy. I'm more of a Souls guy. Dark Souls 3 is my favorite of those games, and Elden Ring's my least favorite. But, I mean, I don't think we have the same opinions on why Elden Ring is mid. Dragon's Dogma 2 is a massive waste of potential. You notice these are all things that are either extremely popular, so they have to have some level of, like, a hate base around it, or it's like, here's a thing that is currently getting a lot of shit right now for nothing to do with politics, so I'm going to try to monetize calling it woke, right? Like, Dragon's Dogma 2 had a bunch of controversy when it came out because it was extremely anticipated. One of my best friends, literally day one player of it, and was hyped for it since before it was even announced, right? Like, longtime Dragon's Dogma fan. Really disappointed with the performance and a couple of other issues it had. It was just underwhelming in a lot of respects. And so because it was underwhelming and, like, people were upset about that, there was hate, there was anger, there was betrayal that someone like Synthetic Man was able to monetize. Looks like his newest video is on Elden Ring, so let's check it out.
Griffith!
What's this guy's deal? Wait, is this literally just going to be clips of his stream? Let's see how cringe this guy is.
The vow will be honored, and my lord brother's soul will return.
Is this
so that he
just going to be him playing the game?
Miyazaki traps anymore. There sure as hell is no equivalent of Sen's Fortress. And look, I know a lot of people didn't like Sen's Fortress, mainly for the jankness.
Who the fuck didn't like Sen's? If you didn't like Sen's Fortress, get the, like, beer bottle, the broken beer bottle out of your ass and, like, learn to enjoy life. Learn to live a little.
I think the idea of having a dungeon with a lot of cool, unique traps makes for an awesome legacy dungeon.
Okay, you know what? I actually legit think this might just be him being an actual based OG Souls fan who doesn't like Elden Ring just like me. Like this, I'm not going to skim through the whole video and find where he's like complaining about wokeness or whatever. Maybe he doesn't even. He might actually just straight up be like an old school Souls fan that's not a big fan of Elden Ring's format like me. So I don't think this video is going to be all that bad. Synthetic Man, from the bit of your Elden Ring video I heard, you're probably not too bad in that respect. But
welcome back to...
You made a video about how women in gaming in 2024 are all fake women because they're trans. So let's take a look at your second most recent video. Let's see what the deal is. The future of gaming is bleak because the future of gaming is at Summer Games Fest 2024. Who the fuck watches these like big game events anymore to get hyped about games? Like for me, the way I find out about new games is typically from like YouTubers that specifically cover new game releases and talk about what they're about, show some gameplay, discuss like the team behind them and what history they have. Like Force Gaming is a really good one. I also like what's his name? He's done really good coverage of any news that comes out of Hytale. Yeah, I can't remember the names of any other ones, but I really like Force Gaming. His content's... Skill Up, thank you. Skill Up's a really good one. Indie Game Week. I really like indie games. Like, most of my game library at this point is indie games, and that's not even like a pretentious thing. It's just I do actually think some of the most top-tier games out there that I've discovered recently are just games that came out of nowhere, right? Like, I just found them, right? Like Zomboid, Vintage Story, Minecraft originally. Just, you know, like fucking Stranded Deep, DayZ. I'm just listing games that I play. Like, they're not games that had a big marketing campaign. They're games that just blew up overnight or just have a community online I stumbled across. Hi-Fi Rush. I never played it, but I know it's good.
Synthetic Man's incredibly
Cuphead.
cynical breakdown.
To be fair, Cuphead did come out of nowhere from an indie studio, but it was so unique and so cool looking, it already had hype on day one. It had hype on day -100. Like, Cuphead didn't blow up overnight. Cuphead, like, had hype from, like, the moment it was announced and gameplay was shown to a larger audience because, like, it was just so unique and so cool looking. Everyone was on board.
Of the Summer Games Fest. And much like last year, it is somehow even worse than the lowest lows of the last few E3s. It is truly impressive how bleak the future of gaming looks.
I almost want to say this guy won't get anywhere on YouTube when you consider the fact that this video and his way of making videos is so droning and monotonous, and there's really nothing of substance being said. But at the same time, the Quartering has like 800,000 subs or over 1 million subs or something. Did you guys see the Quartering on Twitter today accusing Destiny of running away from a debate with him? I know we don't really like Destiny here all that much, but the claim is hilarious because the Quartering's just lying. Like, his strategy is to accuse the left of not being able to debate and defend positions, but then when you challenge him to a debate, he runs away and accuses you of running. For one, the Quartering has lost multiple debates to Destiny publicly, like steamrolled. Two, Destiny has offered to debate him publicly multiple times, and the Quartering just won't reach out and, like, make that happen. Like, he says he'll debate him, but then won't actually go and do it. And one of my favorite examples is when he ran away from a debate with me in 2019. Now, granted, partially, It's my fault a little. Not really, but like you could interpret it as my fault or not his fault. This was back in 2019. The Quartering was uploading about 5 Brie Larson videos a week, and I'd made big time fun of him. His stream chat, because he was live streaming to a few thousand people, found out about me and ended up raiding me. So I ended up having the N-word, the F-slur, like the K-slur, like every Nazi slur you could imagine, just spamming my chat, because I had gone from like 100 viewers to 1,000 or something, and 900 of them were the Quartering fans spamming my chat. And so I quickly realized the Quartering has discovered me, and I was live streaming at the time, and he's watching my stream, and I ask him, hey, do you want to debate about your Brie Larson content? I think it's obsessive and cringe. And he's like, yeah, let's do it. So I call him up, and I think we might have been able to interact for about 5 seconds before I just can't hear him anymore. Like, I just straight up cannot hear him. I was like, hello? Are you there? Hello? And apparently he can hear me, because I have his stream open, and he can hear me. I cannot hear him, nor can my stream hear him, because, like, the audio from Discord on his end is just not going through. We're talking 2019 Discord here. At this point, I'm fucking panicking, because I'm like a 5,000 sub YouTuber at this point who's got a debate with a really dumb, easy to win against, really popular YouTuber. Like, this is the biggest golden goose egg in my hand right now, and it fucking shatters. My fucking Discord just will not work. I say, give me a sec, and I drop the call and rejoin. It won't work. I close Discord, rejoin. It won't work. At this point, I'm like frantic. Like, I'm trying not to panic because I'm so desperate to fix this problem. And I'm like, okay, let me just restart my computer really fast. My operating system is on an SSD. My stream will be back up, and I'll be back in the call in less than a minute. And I was. I very quickly restarted my computer. My shit booted back up to home screen in like 15 seconds. I loaded up OBS, hopped back into Discord immediately. I was not gone for any longer than 45 seconds to 60 seconds. Like, I was really not gone long. And he was gone when I hopped back into the call. I call him multiple times. I'm spamming his DMs like, I'm back. I think Discord's working. I even hop into a VC with a friend, and they talk, and it works. And I keep calling up the Quartering, and my stream's back up and stuff. And he just says, not really feeling it anymore. Let's do it on Friday. At this, mind you, it's like Sunday at this point, so this is like a whole nother week away. And so I'm like, all right, sounds fine. I mean, that gives me like a week to prepare, I guess. And so he puts me into contact with one of his community managers, who's this woman whose name I don't remember, and we're talking through Twitter, and apparently this lady does like his scheduling for him. So I'm talking to her and organizing this, and every day up until the event, I'm confirming with her that she's still, like, that he's still down for it. And every single day from Sunday up until the Friday night at 5 p.m. EST, I remember the time and date to this day that we were going to do it. I keep asking, is he still down? Is he still down? Just checking, is he still down? Like twice a day, morning and evening, just because this is a big deal for me, my first big break, and I don't want to lose it. And she keeps confirming he's down. I'm like, all right, let's go. I'm going to fucking mop the floor with this asshole. Friday comes, and it's the morning. I message, double check, or at this point, quintuple checking to make sure he's still down. No reply. Weird, but okay. Noon comes around. We're a few hours out from the start of my stream and about 5 hours out from the start of the debate. I send another message to check again. No reply. Comes around to about 3 p.m. when I start my stream. No reply. Time, so on and so forth, and like I get no response. Like I'm just completely left high and dry. He never responds, and I'm just like he didn't show. He just straight up didn't show. He ducked out without saying a word. And then months later, literal months later, To give you an idea, like Classic WoW had finally released, and I was like weeks into leveling in Classic WoW. It's the middle of the night, like 3 a.m., and I do a surprise Classic WoW leveling stream. I've got about 4 viewers because I had like less than 10,000 subs, and I was doing a gaming stream, and it was WoW Classic of all things at 3 a.m. unannounced with no warning. So, like, no viewers. It's 3 a.m. EST, mind you. The Quartering enters my chat. I right-click his name and click Go To Channel. It's really him, before you wonder. He says, I don't remember what, but like a snide comment to announce he's in chat. I call him out and say, mind you, there's like nobody here at this point. I think the VOD might still be up though, so if you can find that old Classic WoW leveling VOD, that's the one. It was where I was leveling with a friend of mine named Mango, by the way, so that might help you to narrow it down. And we're leveling in Dun Moreau. We're killing Trogs. So basically, he comes into chat and he says something snide to indicate that he's there and kind of gloat in the fact that I don't have enough viewers for there to be really much of an audience to witness what he's about to do. And I outright confront him like, hey, you ran away from our debate a few months ago. Don't think I don't remember that, buddy. You want to set that back up? And he says, lol, nah, you ran from me. Smile. He leaves a little smile emoji, and then he leaves the chat. And then, of course, if you've paid attention to the Quartering's behavior on Twitter, his go-to is to accuse Destiny, Vosh, plenty of people who would desperately and happily debate him at a moment's notice of running away from debates with him. And his fans believe it because they don't really care about the truth enough to seek it out. And so there are legitimately hundreds of thousands of Quartering fans who unironically believe Destiny is too afraid to debate him. Meanwhile, Destiny has debated him multiple times and owned him so hard that the ridiculous quotes the Quartering said, like agender robots and Apex Legends make it woke, like these quotes became memes that like hurt the Quartering's reputation for years, and yet he still projects and pretends like everyone else is too afraid to debate him when he's completely stopped debating people because he keeps losing. That all aside, though, I have no doubt Synthetic Man is a bit like that. You know, we're dealing with these sort of like hollow grifter chud YouTubers that project strength but cannot exhibit any of it.
I know many of you want to see the return of the woke counter, but first of all, there are way too many woke moments to count here. Almost every single game shown had some form of left-wing propaganda. I know that sounds
Left-wing propaganda shows black women? Okay.
ridiculous, like I'm going off the fucking deep end. Synthetic Grifter is just telling his audience what they want to hear,
I think
right?
that is Apex,
I'm seeing
right?
woke in everything, as the tourists like to say. But my god, dude, it doesn't...
I'm seeing woke in everything, like the tourists like to say. What I really loved was when, ironically, we're bringing up the Quartering again. Remember when the Quartering kept on calling woke Warhammer fans tourists while pronouncing the Adeptus Custodes as the Adaptus Custodes? And then he would just continuously say Adaptus Custodes while calling woke Warhammer fans tourists that don't know the hobby and need to be gatekept. Phenomenal stuff.
Get much worse than this. I watched 6 hours of these showcases.
Oh, I love this one, because as a WoW fan, it's like... It's really funny, because like a lot of these chuds complain about things they view as woke, that like, if you're not connected to the media, you might agree, right? Like you might fall for the narrative, you know what I mean? Like, you might not recognize this character from the new WoW expansion coming out, The War Within, and think, oh, who's this new amputee black character who's disabled? How woke is this? But if you're an OG WoW fan, you know that this is a character who has existed since Classic. Back in 2004, she has been around. This is her new look after like decades of getting fucking brutalized and shit. Like now she looks badass. But to them, it's like, oh, this is some new like DEI character or something.
And maybe 15 minutes of that contained games I'd be actually interested in playing. I have never seen so many diverse female protagonists in my entire life. Like I said in a previous video.
Diverse means not white, by the way. Diverse female he means not white.
This is a showcase of future flops. These games don't even have to make money because they're funded by BlackRock and the Canadian government.
This is a really interesting narrative. This is like the new like gamer JQ. Like this is the gamer Jewish question pretty much, is the idea that like these games you don't like because of the politics of aren't actually succeeding. They kept saying go woke, go broke, and it just wasn't true. The games kept doing well. And so they had to come up with a reason for why the games keep existing, right? Like, why do these woke games keep coming out? Well, they're being funded by BlackRock to simply exist and not be profitable. This, of course, makes zero sense. BlackRock is an investment company. Sweet Baby Inc. exists under BlackRock, also just a consulting company. BlackRock is one of the biggest investment companies in the world. Investing is when you put money into something and expect to make a return. This is simply like a completely irrational conspiracy theory. They are actually arguing that corporations are sacrificing money to make bad games to promote the woke agenda for no profit outside of an intangible conspiratorial winning of the woke, right?
If you think indie games are exempt from this, you are delusional. Obviously, the AAA games are no better.
You'll notice, by the way, that, like, yeah, indie games, as they get bigger, are starting to be something that a lot of people can grift off of hate for. Even mods, like free mods for decade-plus-year-old games like Fallout, people are trying to monetize hate off of. And it's more effective as well because a small indie team or a small mod team is so much easier to harass, attack, and destroy with an internet crusade than a large corporation. Like, if you're, like, doing an anti-woke brigade against, like, a Ubisoft game, there's a good chance, at least, the company is going to have some level of, like, protection for the employees. At least make a statement, at least, like, they're going to be a bulwark, a more powerful-looking, sort of entity than some small indie studio that might be, like, 5 people who are being inundated by hundreds of thousands of fans of right-wing grift channels, right?
Better. There were man jaws galore. I feel bad for anybody who's been begging for a perfect dark.
I really do love how these dudes have gotten to the point where, like, a woman with any level of defined jawline or, like, high cheekbones has a man jawline. Like, their whole thing is, like, straight men are winning with, like, Stellar Blade or whatever in these Gunnar games, and yet the second they see a woman with, like, any level of like, what I would consider model-like features, they lose their shit.
Dark remake or reboot. Holy shit, talk about a monkey's paw.
The fact is, like, the women they find attractive are the ones that look as young as possible. Like, they're trying to, like, if they could socially get away with it, I think most of these guys would probably just outright say that they want the women that are in games that they are meant to be attracted to look under the age of 18. They would just outright say it if it was not a social faux pas. They would just outright admit that's how they feel. Every single character you see them criticize the appearance of tends to be just a normal-looking woman. But what's wrong with her? What's wrong with her, really? Like, if we're actually being honest and we're thinking the way these people do, what do they have an issue with? It's her age. This is an adult woman. This is a fully developed woman's face, and that is what a lot of these gamer men have a problem with. They want to see, it's a big part of why, like, Stellar Blade Eve is a really, like, simped for character. Why, 2B from Nier Automata is a really simped for character. Why Lara Croft in her more OG designs was a very simped for character. Obviously heavy sexualization, but also a youthfulness. Like if you look at these characters' faces, if the universe of these games told you that these characters were underage, you wouldn't really question it. You'd be like, yeah, sure. Yeah, it looks like it. But in the lore, these characters aren't, and so gooning to them is not considered a social faux pas. But let's be real, these characters that, like, gamer chuds simp for so hard, if in the lore they were said to be underage, no one would see the design as, like, not that of an underage character, right? Like, what they look for, what they specifically promote and champion as, like, the most ideal form of female beauty is basically, like, maximized youth, right? A big part of that's also a big part of why there's this stereotype about like right-wing libertarian white guys and having Asian wives, because they try to find like in their conception like a very young looking, short, small Asian wife that they can imagine as a child and treat like a child. That's what a lot of these like conservative white men look for and fantasize about. If you've ever seen like the shit they post about on Poll, like most of them, it's just a fantasy. It's not really real, but it's what they want. It's like their ideal world. Yeah.
I wish. But for this video, I'm going to change up my coverage a little bit. Like I just said, there's not going to be any woke.
I love the idea of like, oh my God, Life is Strange. How woke. This is part of the new era of woke video games. Granted, they've complained about like every Life is Strange since True Colors, but Life is Strange. Well, actually, no, they complain about Life is Strange too, because they said racism bad in that game. So yeah, mind you, these games won't flop, and when they don't flop, they'll just say that the like sales are faked. You know, like there's no like being held to these predictions that this guy's going to have. Like even if everything he says here gets proven wrong, it'll have no negative blowback on him because his fans don't actually look for like they're not going to hold him to account for being wrong.
Counter, there's no point. And honestly, there was way too much material here for me to condense down into like a 30-minute video. So instead of covering everything that happened during the show, I'm instead going to review each showcase individually and cover the highlights. The highlights being mostly negative, of course. Since I never made a video on the Sony State of Play, I'll briefly give my thoughts on it at the end if you're curious.
Let's see. Summer Games Fest main show, Xbox Games Showcase, PC Gaming... Let's watch the conclusion, because who gives a fuck?
Conclusion, Ubisoft show sucked, obviously. Still not as bad as the PC gaming show. Xbox One, not that that really means much. If you're wondering what I thought of the Sony State of Play, it also was kind of terrible. That fucking Concord game looks like the most designed by committee shit I've ever seen. Guardians...
That's what I really love about the gaming community is that anytime, like they love to complain about how no new properties can get like their footing in the modern AAA gaming industry. Like if a new thing comes out that is not a pre-established franchise, tries to get started, it gets like, it doesn't get enough attention, it gets fucked. And the gaming community's response to a new AAA non-established franchise getting started, they see one cinematic trailer and are like, this looks like shit, committee design. It's like they did it with like Horizon, the Horizon games as well. From people who've played them, I hear they're really good and they're really popular as well. But the gaming community as a whole obviously has a very huge hate boner for Aloy for being a female protagonist. And on top of that, the game does not sexualize its female character, and it actually has a very large female player base. Like, you could almost think of like the Horizon games as like your girlfriend's Witcher, pretty much. Like that's really the best way to describe it. It has an immense audience. It just doesn't appeal to like your hyper online gamer bros that build online gaming culture. And so you'll hear a lot of people say that like the Horizon games are like committee designed industry plants. Like Aloy is like an industry plant protagonist, and even I felt that because like I'm just not in that like area of gaming, but like those games sell like hotcakes. They are very popular and very well loved by the people who've actually played them. They're well-made games apparently, and very beautiful too, to be fair. Your girlfriend's Witcher is such a strong sales pitch that I kind of want to play it now. Yeah, I mean that's really the best way to describe it. It's like your girlfriend's Witcher 3 is what the Horizon games are, and so like. These guys see no interest in these things, and they accuse it of being like they'll simultaneously complain nothing new gets to exist, and then they don't support anything new, right? Like it's that same dichotomy, you know, like the whole industry or the whole audience of film goers talks about how they want to see something fresh and new and creative and unique, and yet they allow movies like Furiosa to bomb, or movies like Dungeons and Dragons to bomb in the box office, right? Like, on one hand, they talk about how much they want this thing, but they don't actually support the thing, right? It's really similar to what I complain about with you guys, where I'll talk about how I want to cover, like, foreign affairs, some, like, genocide that happened in another country on the other side of the planet, but while I could cover that, and you guys will say you'd watch it, I know from experience you guys won't watch it, right? Like, you guys love to say how much you want that, like, super hard, gritty, dry politics, that real shit, but then it does way worse than anything else. Like, you guys will scream from the rooftops how much you love it because it's, like, a really good virtue signal. It makes you feel special, but you won't really click on one of those videos if it's, like, real, yeah. You know, like, it's... You know, I don't believe any of you when you say you'll watch, like, the real politics content. Like, when I'm covering, like, Biden's policy, I don't believe any of you when you say you're interested in it. I don't believe you. Maybe you do, but I don't believe you because the numbers say otherwise, and you're more likely to be lying than to be telling the truth statistically. And so with that, like, mindset, yeah, of course there's not going to be any cool new properties getting their footing when this is the reaction to anything new.
Of the Galaxy character design and humor plus hero shooter equals some of the worst cape shit millennial garbage I think I've ever seen in my life. Luckily, that bit of
I love how much with these content creators, you don't have to say anything of substance. You just have to, like, combo chain enough recognizable keywords together that people have a negative connotation with, and people will fill in the blanks and make up, like... Notice how there's not really an argument here. It's more like everything's so vague that if you watch the video, you can fill in the blanks and basically this guy's takes can agree with yours if you fundamentally agree with the idea that this Summer Games Fest sucked. Just because nothing concrete is really said, right? It's just buzzword salad that, like, makes the framework for a negative opinion on the gaming event that anybody can watch that somewhat agrees and imagine that this video 100% repeats their opinion because it doesn't go against anything they might believe, and it doesn't go with every single bit of what they believe. It's just vibes, you know, and so that people can feel like the vibes are also their vibes. It's really effective. There's not really any
Monster Hunter Wilds gameplay, and the Astrobot game surprisingly looked good, but yeah, the show was pretty weak. At least it was only like 35 minutes. So is this the worst E3/Summer Games Fest of all time? Yes, definitely, without a doubt, dude. I don't want to repeat myself every...
I like how every time they do coverage of a game event, it's the worst one ever, and come click my video. Look, it's the worst ever. It's the worst ever, guys. You have to watch my video because I'm talking about how this one is the worst ever this time. And then next one, when it's that event and we're in that time and that's the thing to make money off of, that'll be the worst one
single year. But I truly miss the presentation cringe of E3, and I miss genuinely huge game reveals that everyone was excited for. I get the feeling that most hardcore gamers like myself have simply stopped.
Man, I really can't wait for, like, the generation of Zoomer chuds that are watching this shit to finally, like, grow out of it and to, like, look back at the shit they were watching where they were, like, talking about being hardcore gamers that were gatekeeping the tourists from, like, ruining their games with wokeness. Like, when they grow out of that, look back and are like, my God, I was so cringe. You know, I'm so ready for that.
Playing new games and they just play old games, and I really wouldn't blame you. Honestly, that's the best advice I could give you. If you haven't completely given up on this hobby, just play some of the greatest games of all time in your backlog. They're better than anything that releases today. No matter what lefty shills will tell you about indie games, they're full of just as much, if not more,
Oh shit, so, like, full on lefty shills for indie games. Holy shit. So, like, this dude's just full on against the indie game industry and says, like, it's leftist and woke. Well, guys, if you like the indie game industry, I guess you're leftist now, and if you want to destroy it and you want to fight it, then you should be on this guy's side if you hate indie games. Raise your hand if you hate indie games, guys. I guess that's where we're going now. Hating indie games. Yeah, this guy just... Well, you have to remember, guys, you don't make any money off of loving things on the internet. Love is not... Love and enjoyment do not make money online. Do you want to know the one case in which a positive expression of love for a piece of media went viral? There was one case in which a guy who is just passionate about something went viral. And it went viral because people were shitting on him for it. Who remembers this guy who reacted to the Star Wars trailer and cried and the whole internet shit on him? The one time where someone expressing love and passion for something they're into made clicks and got attention, and it was because people wanted to attack the guy, daring to express passion and love for a thing he enjoys on the internet.
Sorry about that. I'm going to turn this puppy up.
Who remembers this?
There we go. And let's do this.
This dude ends up having like a full-on nerdgasm on camera, to be fair. Like he was pretty hyped. He gets a little out of control. But like, I think it's important to point out that it's not just like, oh, he doesn't like video games. It's that he doesn't like anything. These creators don't like anything. If they make a video that is positive or complimentary of something, it's either to walk back something they said was going to be bad, that's just so popular they need to have, like, they had to walk it back, or to try and claim something to say it's anti-woke. It's never like a compliment of something on its merits. It's always like, oh, it's sticking it to those lefties, right? Really just with the ring-around goal of hate against the left, right? Like, these creators thrive off of hate. They can't make videos about games they're excited for and things they like. It's all things they hate and stuff that makes them mad, because you should also be mad because your anger makes you click on his videos and give him money. Rage makes the world go round online. Well, Synthetic Man doesn't say much really of anything of value, so as much as I'd love to cover more of his stuff and just like debunk the things he says bit by bit, there's really nothing of substance there. It's really just slop for people who already agree with him. It's misery porn. So hopefully my coverage is enough to satisfy those who have been begging me to cover Synthetic Man. And yeah, if you enjoyed this segment, please consider leaving a like, subscribe, and ring the bell icon, and turn on notifications, and comment down below. It really helps the channel a lot. You guys have clearly been doing it more lately, because its channel's been doing really well. I really do appreciate it. Follow my social medias, linked down below if you want to see more from me, including joining my fan Discord. It's totally free, and it's where I host game events, call-in streams, and watched parties, and I also announce all my new uploads and streams there. So if you don't want to miss anything, you definitely want to join. You should also consider supporting me if you've got the money for it and you feel like doing so by donating, subscribing, or gifting a sub on my website, xanderhall.com/live, or supporting me through YouTube, Twitch, Streamlabs, Stream Elements, or Patreon, or buying merch of the Streamlabs down below, or Streamlabs link down below. But with all that said, no matter how you support me, thank you for watching, and have a good one.